Hello everyone and welcome to a replica airguns video. My name is Michael K. And today we're doing a tabletop review of the ASG Bersa BP9CC CO2 Blowback BB Pistol. So there won't be any shooting in this video. I will be following up this tabletop review with a shooting review next week. So first of all, I'd like to thank ASG for supplying this gun. ASG was kind enough to provide this gun to me, and I actually picked this one up at the SHOT Show when I was in Vegas last week. So let's get on to the specifications. This is a blowback operated gun. It shoots in single action only. It has a metal slide and polymer frame. It is fully licensed with Bersa licensing. It uses 12 gram CO2 cartridges. It shoots 4.5 millimeter steel BBs. It has a all metal 20 round dropout magazine. This gun weighs about 1.5 pounds or 610 grams. And it has a claimed 350 FPS. So first off, this is a very accurate replica of the real steel Bersa BP9CC. And again, it's made by ASG Action Sport Games, and this gun is made in Taiwan. Now, as with most ASG products, it does come in a nice cardboard box. And it did actually have this Max 2 Joule sticker on the gun. You can see that there. You also get the Bersa manual inside the box. Sorry, it's a bit bright. I'll try and let you see this here. All the instructions you need in the manual. Now, I just want to compare another gun that's kind of similar, not so much in looks, but in design. And this is my CZ75 P07 Duty. And they share a lot of commonalities. Same sort of type magazines. I'll just show you them. They almost fit, but they're not quite the same. They look very similar, but there's some parts, or I guess you can see these little notches that don't line up there, so they're not going to work in the other gun. But they almost fit. They just won't work. You can see also, actually at the bottom, when I get into the rest of the review, you'll see how they have similar ways to load the CO2, and not just the magazine itself. But they're both blowback, and they're both single action only guns, and they're both really good copies of the real steel guns that they replicate. Alright, so getting back to the Bersa here, let's do a little bit of a walk around and take a look at some of the main components and parts. Alright, you'll notice that it has a metal slide, and it has a metal slide catch, metal trigger, metal magazine release, metal magazine of course. I'm not sure about the hammer. The hammer's internal, so it could be metal as well. I'm sure it is. Now, one thing I want to point out on this gun, if I can get the focus here, is that the trigger, even though it's very much like the real Bersa, it comes down a bit further, so it's closer to the trigger guard. And what's nice about that is that some people complain about the triggers pinching on the real steel Bersa, so your finger gets stuck in there. It doesn't happen at all with this one, because the trigger actually is a little elongated. So even though that's slightly different, I think that's a good thing. And again, metal trigger. So you'll notice we have our BP9CC markings. We also have the Bersa markings on the slide, and also made in Argentina. Got some trademark stuff there. Everything's really, really close to the real steel. Even the engravings on the handle here, the grips, very similar. The only thing that's a little bit different, I would say, is that this is thicker. So this part would be maybe down to about there. So that's a bit of a telltale giveaway, and that's to accommodate the CO2 screw. So let's take a quick look at the magazine while we're down here. Very easy to load. Just pull that down. I just kind of put my finger on one side, angle it, and load the BBs in the top. Holds 20 BBs. Let that release when you're done. And again, loading the CO2, very easy on this gun. There's a little button there you push. Put your CO2 top in here. Tighten it up. And then put your cover back on. And it's upside down. Really easy. Works really well. Pierces really, really easy. And the CO2 usage is pretty good on here. I'll talk more about the shooting a little bit later. Alright, so that pretty much covers this side of the gun. Really nice looking gun. Good balance. Good weight. I just want to point this out. This gun's really thin. So when you compare it to other guns, you can see how thin it is. And it's supposed to be thin because it's a carry gun. But it holds well. It feels really cool in the hand because it's so thin. Alright, let's look at the other side here. So we have our 9mm marking on the ejection port, although it's not a 9mm by 19 gun. It's obviously .177 caliber or 4.5mm BB here. So those are the real markings there, but that's what the gun, that's because it's a replica, they've even included that on it. So of course the ejectors don't work, they're just molded in. But you do have a safety, and the safety is plastic. But on the real Bersa, the safety would actually be like an octagonal sort of key that you would put in there, and that's to make the gun safe when you store it. You wouldn't want to put it in safe when you've got it for concealed carry, because it would be really awkward and hard. You need the tool with you to unlock it. But it is for if you're storing the gun, to keep the gun safe when stored. But you know, on the BB gun, I think it's kind of cool to have this because when there's CO2 in it and it's cocked, there's no way to decock it. So essentially, with CO2 in here, if there were a BB in the chamber or in the barrel, and you were to you know, accidentally fire it because there's no way to decock it, with a real gun you could pull all the actual rounds out, check the chamber, and then pull the trigger on an empty chamber, right? But on the BB gun with CO2 in it, you can't do that. So it's kind of important to have this safety here. All right, some more markings here. You have serial number, ASG, F for the German market, and again the Bersa on the grips. Again, polymer frame, metal slide. Let's take a look at the front here, or the top, sorry. Again, the ejection port. Now you can't see right down because it's blowback and some of that's looking through there. It's not a full blowback, so it's like a half blowback on it. But still, it's got some decent blowback feel. Not super heavy, but not bad. And then you also got your sights here, your white dot sights, front and back. They're not adjustable. Alright, looking at the front, you do have a recessed barrel. Now with a lot of these ASG guns, I don't know if you can with this one, this little bit here comes out, put a key in there, unscrew it, and a silencer can go on them. Because ASG does make silencers for a lot of their guns like this. But I like that it's got the recessed barrel, and the inner barrel is black too, so you can't see. A lot of them use like a copper, and you see the copper shining out of there, but it's black, so it looks nice. It's hard to see. And then you also have the slide rod, which, you know, sometimes the airgun companies get lazy, they don't put that in there. The internal spring mechanism doesn't require it, or whatever they're using inside, so they don't use that. But it's nice that ASG added that for realism. It's got a nice snap to it too. It's pretty cool. Alright, anything else I can think of here? On the bottom, well, we talked about the magazine. You do have a rail for, you know, whatever you want to put on there. It could be a laser, could be a tactical light of some sort. I don't know if you'd want to put a pistol grip on here. It's such a small gun, but you could, I guess, a foregrip if you really wanted to. Hold it like that. Another thing I wanted to mention is this little notch setup here would be for the takedown of the gun. Now, I don't know of any easy way to take this gun down or field strip it, so don't ask, because it's not really made to do that. It's not made to just be field stripped like the real gun. So if you're going to take it apart, you're going to probably need some tools, and you might void your warranty. Right, I want to talk just a little bit about the performance. Now, this isn't the actual shooting review again. That will be followed up shortly, next week, hopefully as soon as I can get to it. But I did take it outside and shoot it. I like to shoot these guns before I do my tabletop review, at least, so I can give you some feedback, how it performed. And it performed pretty good. I started with my chronograph, and it was kind of strange. The first 3 shots were kind of low. They were above 300, but they were like right around 320 to 330 feet per second. And then all of a sudden, it started to get higher feet per second ratings, right up to 366. So pretty good, considering it was a rather cold day. And again, on cold days, I keep the gun inside nice and warm. Then I take it immediately outside and do my chronograph test. So the gun is, you know, relatively warm, but not super warm. It's not a hot, sunny day by any means. Alright, as far as accuracy goes, you can see here, we got about a 2-inch group. I put 10 rounds into this target here. A couple low, there's 2 here. Then most of them sort of stayed right in this area, 1 stray over here. But still a 2-inch group. This was shot from 20 feet away using a semi-rested position. I was kneeling down in the back, but I had a stable platform in the front that I was shooting off of. I did forget to mention that just like the CZ75, I was able to get easily 100 shots out of this gun. I fired 5 magazines with 20 rounds in each, and when I was all done, there was still some CO2 left, so I could have probably got another 20 rounds. That would be a total of 120 rounds. Not too bad for shooting on a colder day. Alright, so let's talk about some of the pros and the cons for the Bersa BP9CC blowback CO2 pistol. Well, of course, one of the pros I like, at least for me, is that it has blowback action. That's always a nice feature if you're into the more realism or realistic styled BB guns. Now there's tons of detail in this gun and it's fully licensed. It is really a very good replica. Now the fit and finish and quality of this gun for the most part is very good. Now as I said earlier, this gun performed well in terms of decent power, accuracy, and really good CO2 usage. I like that ASG went with a full metal magazine instead of putting a plastic one in like some other companies have done. And lastly, this is just sort of a personal thing, but this gun just feels great in the hand. I love the thin profile. It's a really well designed gun in general. Alright, let's talk about some of the cons. I didn't really show it too much, but this magazine has a weird sort of marking in it. It's like the way it's molded. It's got this sort of seam there on both sides. I'm not sure what that's all about, but I don't see anything like that on the real gun, and it does stand out a little bit. So that's a little bit of a negative, not a big deal. And again, of course, this is really the only telltale sign at all that this gun isn't real, because this is a little thicker, so it's longer, I should say. The real one would be a little thinner, smaller butt plate. Now, just like the CZ75, the trigger does get a little bit creepy when the magazine is loaded. And I think what is happening with the design of this gun is the BB is kind of being released from the magazine when you feel this creep. And if you actually pull the trigger almost all the way but don't release the hammer, if you do it really slowly and just sort of stop before the hammer is released, a BB will actually roll out of the barrel if it's in a sort of downward position. So you're not going to want to sit there and just creep your finger really, really slow, especially if the gun is pointed down, or a BB will drop out. Now, I didn't really find this to be a problem because I generally don't pull the trigger that slowly. And this gun is really more of an action shooter anyways, so you're probably going to be shooting rather quickly with it. And really the only other thing I could say is the blowback is mild on this gun because of the cycle is not super long, so it's sort of a half blowback cycle. And the slide isn't extremely heavy, although it's good weight for the size of the gun, but it's a small gun, so the slide's going to be a bit lighter than some. So when you have the reduced blowback with a slightly lighter slide, you're not going to get a really heavy blowback feel like you would with a larger full blowback gun. Alright, so that pretty much concludes this tabletop review of the Bersa BP9CC CO2 blowback BB pistol. Now we do carry a lot of ASG products. Right now I don't have this one, but when you watch this video, we may have this gun in the store, in our Canadian, possibly our US store. We do carry ASG products, so keep looking for this gun. We'll do our best to get this one in for you. And if you're looking for something very similar, take a look at the CZ75 P07 that I showed you earlier and the STI Duty 1. Both of those guns are similar in how they're made and how they perform. Alright, so I'd like to thank you for watching a Replica Airguns video. Don't forget to check us out on our website, replicaairguns.com. I'll include a written version of this video with some more photos for you, so check that out. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel here. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter. And if you're interested in something other than an airgun, maybe an airsoft gun or blank gun or accessory, we also have that available for you in our Replica Airgun store. So thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.